Every ranger learns two sets of rules. The official ones come in a laminated binder during the first week. Report every contact. Log every trail condition. Never go off grid alone. Those rules exist on paper. And most days, most parks, they are enough. But there is a second set. Nobody hands those over. Nobody writes them down. A new ranger absorbs them through the horror stories that get passed between shifts like something contagious. Through the way veterans stop mid-sentence and change the subject when a junior asks the wrong question. I learned them the same way I learned to stop standing too close to the edge of something I could not see the bottom of. Slowly, by watching what happened to the people who did not know better. I have been patrolling the Northern District for 11 years. I did not come into this work afraid of the woods. I grew up in them, knew how to read weather, how to move quietly, how to stay calm when the terrain turned on me. That confidence lasted about 8 months before this park started teaching me something different. The first thing I noticed was the silence, not the absence of sound that is normal in isolated terrain. This is something else, a quality the air takes on in certain stretches, usually in the late afternoon when the light goes flat and the temperature drops faster than it should. Old-timers call it the hole. They do not explain what that means. They just say it when I describe a particular kind of stillness, and then they nod and go quiet. And that tells me more than any explanation would. The case that first put me on edge involved a trail runner, mid-40s, experienced, had been running the Northern Loop twice a month for 3 years. He checked in at the trailhead at 6:42 in the morning. His truck was still in the lot when I came back through at 1:15. I called it in, thinking medical, heart event, maybe a twisted ankle somewhere past the ridge. We swept the full loop twice. No sign. No footprints past the 4-mile marker, which is impossible, because the trail there runs through a stretch of soft clay that holds impressions from deer as light as 60 pounds. His prints just ended. Mid-stride, the toe of the left shoe pressed in and nothing after. We found him 9 days later. He was sitting on a flat outcropping 2 ridges east, completely outside his known range, facing away from the valley. His water was gone. His food was gone. He was calm in a way that felt wrong. The kind of calm I have seen in someone who has moved past fear into something they cannot name yet. He told us he had been walking, just walking, he said, because he needed to get to something. When we asked what, he shook his head once and never answered. Not that day, not in the weeks after. His wife called me 4 months later to say he had started sleeping outside. Every night, regardless of weather, he had stopped explaining why. That is the pattern. The ones who come back subtly wrong. Not broken in any way I can document. Not injured. Not even particularly distressed, which is almost worse than distress would be. Distress makes sense. What they come back with does not. There was a woman recovered from the Eastern Basin who would not enter any room with a window after dark. A teenage boy found in the marshy stretch near the northern boundary who spent the first hour after rescue pressing his hand flat against every tree trunk he passed, one after another, working his way down the line. When a paramedic asked what he was doing, he said he was checking. He could not say what he was checking for. The cases that stay with me most are the ones we never resolved at all. Not just the missing persons that closed without answers, though there are more of those than the public knows, and more than I am comfortable thinking about at length. I mean the cases where something was found, something physical, but the explanation only made the absence worse. A pair of hiking poles left crossed in an X shape on a trail no one had been reported missing from. A camp stove placed in the center of the trail, still warm, with all 4 burners running and nothing on it. A child's rain jacket hung neatly on a branch 8 feet off the ground, sleeves out, as though someone had arranged it to be seen from a distance. Nobody claimed the jacket. We ran it through every open missing persons case in the region. Nothing matched. There is a section of the park we are not supposed to call anything officially, but every ranger who has worked the Northern District long enough starts calling it the margin. It is not a dangerous area in any conventional sense. No unusual terrain features, no unstable ground, no particular wildlife activity. But compasses behave strangely in a 40-acre stretch of it, and GPS signal degrades in a way that our equipment provider could not explain when we reported it. More than that, there is a persistent smell in the margin that I have never been able to identify. Not decay, not something with a green mineral quality, like river stones warmed in the sun, but heavier, more present. Experienced rangers walk faster through it, without discussing why. I walked into the margin alone once, about 3 years ago, following a noise I could not account for. A low rhythmic sound that I registered more in my chest than my ears, like something very large breathing at a distance. I got about 100 yards in before I stopped, not because I was afraid, or not only because of that. I stopped because I realized I had no memory of the last several minutes of walking. I was standing in a spot I had no recollection of reaching. I turned around. I walked back out. I have not gone in alone since. The sound was still there when I reached the edge of the tree line. Still regular. Still patient. There is one thing I have never reported officially. I do not know how to frame it in language that belongs in a document. On 3 separate occasions, across 3 different years, I have found footprints in the margin that I cannot explain. Adult-sized, human in shape, pressed deep into ground that should not hold an impression like that. And they go in, every time, in a straight line toward the interior. They do not come back out. 3 times, 3 sets. I have looked at those prints and stood there for longer than I should each time, trying to decide what to write down. I always write no identifiable cause. I do not know how much longer I will stay in this job. Some days it feels like a choice. Other days it feels like the margin already decided for me, and I am still working out when.